All right. Thank you all for joining us today for this exciting panel about AI. To start, we had a quick poll, so hopefully everyone had a chance to take that poll. If you haven't, go ahead and open up the app. We can still get some of those live results in. If we can go ahead and throw to the poll results really quickly before we do a quick intro. All right, so the question was, do you use AI-powered tools to plan and deliver meetings and events? So it looks fairly even, choice B, so we're starting to investigate. Seems to be, hold on.
It's very tiny, huh?
It's changing.
I forgot to bring my glasses up.
Look at that. So it looks like across the board, for the most part, people are using it, which is obviously super exciting. But we have an awesome panel here who are all AI experts from both the hospitality and the event side of the house. So with that, we will go ahead and get started with some quick introductions. My name is Alex Palladia. I'm a director of product marketing for our hospitality cloud here at Cvent.
I'm Gabrielle Austin-Brown. I'm founder and director of Diversity Alliance, a training and consultancy organization around representation, inclusion, and accessibility in live events and experiential marketing.
My name is Mandy. I'm heading up the Business Solutions department with the Radisson Hotel Group, looking after digital transformation in meeting and events and sales.
Hi, I'm Gina Kay. I'm the marketing manager for international confex at Mash Media.
Awesome. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. We only have 30 minutes and we have a lot to cover. We're hoping that we'll be able to get some Q&A at the end. But with that, I'm going to kick it off with Gina. So Gina heads up, as you just heard, marketing for Mash Media, and she leads Confex, one of the UK's largest industry events. As we all know, personalization and content are huge. Education is a major reason why people come to events. I believe you're a team of one, which is incredible to run a powerful event like that. What are you doing to make sure that you are leveraging AI in order to personalize and have that engaging content throughout an event?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a team of one, so I do everything from strategy, planning to execution, and I also do the content, so I do the conference program as well. So AI is integral to what we do at Mash Media, and because we're a small to medium enterprise, we do have a little bit more leeway with how we use it, and there's not as much kind of red tape as a bigger organization, so we're quite lucky where we get to play around a bit and dip our toes into different things. And yeah, one of the ways that we use it, especially for Confex 2026, is we have a business plan for ChatGPT. So we have a custom GPT for every single one of our portfolios. So International Confex has one. We also run exhibition news, conference news. They each have their own one, so that all of the information pertaining to that event or that publication, that's all housed in the back end where you can configure it. So it's all based on our data and our brand guidelines, our tone of voice, everything that kind of successful proposals, everything like that goes into the back end of the configuration, and it isn't used to train the rest of ChatGPT. So it's really important, obviously, to keep our data safe, but also to be able to use it to really look at what's coming next and how I can do less admin. And one of the ways that we did that for this year is for the conference program. What we did is we took the call for papers from 2025, 2024. We also took the delegate feedback and also the speaker feedback. And then we also took how busy each of the theaters were, and we put that into a new chat, and we asked it to basically tell us any improvements, analysis, and also where they think that we should change the theater names, because this year we have changed every single theater name, and we've also added a new theater based on the data of our attendees. And so what we've done is we've been able to really build out the conference program. So the whole conference program is built via ChatGPT. And then what we did is we then took it to focus groups, reintroduced that human element to really make sure that what we were proposing for 2026 was checked in by our audience and stuff.
So obviously that collection of that data is super, super important for you to inform those decisions moving forward. I'm going to turn it over to you now, Mandy. So on the hospitality side, Radisson has been very forward-thinking when it comes to AI. And one of the things that you've been looking to do with your hotel staff is essentially how do you get some of the admin tasks, some of those routine tasks, and take that off their plate with AI, and then ultimately move in that more strategic direction where they're able to do more high-value initiatives. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and we started already 5 years ago, quite early in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, back in the day we did the analysis and we figured out 80% of our jobs, even though we call ourselves meeting and event sales, is around administration, so entering stuff in the system. Yeah, no, it's just 80% administrative, different kind of tasks and duties in order to really make an event happen. And we said, okay, let's see how we can turn it around and to make meeting and event sales all about sales again and customer interaction. And then our journey started. The journey started with having a look at our system landscape to see, okay, how and where do we have points where we can automate? Where are we spending most of our time on? And yeah, then came up with a step plan in order to get rid of that. We found a couple of partners that are willing and helping us in order to get there. We call our project 80-20. We want to swap the ratio around, so that's the whole entry level. Yeah, it's an exciting journey so far, and from this we talk about generative AI to help also our people on site, no longer reading through all of the piles and piles of SOPs, right? I know hotels and the hoteliers in the room here, we love our SOPs, so we've got a hang of that. We've built our own internal agent for it. Then we are, of course, doing agentic AI and workflow automation together with one of our technology providers, Hiver. So yeah, we have a lot of things going on simultaneously, but it's cool.
Awesome. And Gabby, many people might think that AI is often totally objective and data-driven, but that's not necessarily the case. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I guess I'm all about bringing that human element, human perspective into AI, if that's at all possible. And I think what I'm seeing at the moment in the work that I'm doing is that organizers or organizations are deploying or implementing or training AI tools without necessarily considering their DEI policies, goals, strategies, their people, their organizational values, which are an incredibly important part and a part that's actually probably going to set your event, organization, venue apart from other businesses if we get that element. And I recently did a workshop and we tried to flip this on the head. So this might be a little tip for you, Gina, where essentially we looked at our organization's AI policies. So everyone who was in the room, they had their organization's DEI policies. And they looked at how those could be used as training information and data for setting up their own custom GPT, their own AI chatbot. So we're setting those foundations first before asking for any sort of outputs at all with regards to whatever it might be that we're looking to do, whether it's an admin task even, or if it is developing content, deciding on the content for an exhibition, all that side of stuff. So we get that kind of initial foundation. It's almost like building a house where we have that DEI, that people piece as a foundation, and then we can build everything on top. And I think in our excitement to be efficient and to get as much out as possible in the most streamlined way as possible, we're forgetting that what we're putting out there is continuing to train models and data, not just in our own spheres, but everywhere. And that's going to keep being used, perpetuating any sort of bias that might have already been inputted, especially if it's an industry, for example, that is, say, predominantly male, predominantly white, able-bodied industry. If that industry is the ones developing tools, training the data, the outputs a lot of the time are going to be a little bit biased probably, and it's hard to go back and start changing that. So I really would advise really start with that strong foundation of having your organizational values and inclusion policies in there. Another thing I think we should all definitely be aware of, and I don't want to be like the doom person, but it's definitely from a kind of responsible perspective, is like our biometric data. What is happening with our data? There are some brilliant tools out there for sure. For example, facial recognition, so we can find our photos of ourselves at events. Voice recognition, our ideas, IP being transcribed and then being used and put out into the ether. Okay, yes, this is great because we want to be learning from this information, but do we actually know what's happening with our biometric data? And with like deep fakes and things like that really coming into prominence, who knows where our face is going to end up, where our voice is going to end up in the future? It might not happen now, it might happen later. And so I think it's really key to hold ourselves accountable as organisers, venues, around what is happening with that data, looking at the small print. And as individuals, we're checking that box to say we're happy that our data is being collected and used, but 10 pages down in the small print, it could be just sold to goodness knows where. So I think we have a real responsibility around that too. And those are two key pieces, I would say, get that right early doors.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think many organizations are becoming much more aware of these sorts of things, and even at Cvent, we've started to put more strict rules in place, right, in terms of what can be uploaded, what can be used. From a year ago, it's obviously changed a lot, and I think obviously people are starting to recognize that, especially around the privacy and the data, which is so important. So want to definitely address one of the common issues that many employees' initial reaction to AI is often a fear of that job replacement. So I want to ask you guys this. So what would you say is the single most important action a leader can take in order to take and shift that narrative from that fear of obsolescence to excitement for professional growth and empowerment when it comes to AI? I'll go ahead and start with you, Mandy.
Yeah, I already said 80-20 and swap the ratio around, so quite easily the assumption can of course be made, well, if we swap the ratio around, why not just getting rid of the 80%? And that's not what AI is all about. It's really having it as an enabler, and I think change management is more important than ever. Taking people by the hand and taking away that fear. New things are arising. We now have tasks that we didn't have prior. We have data governance. We need such granular level of detail. We need to have best buddy systems with the AI instead of with a human. AI needs to learn. It's not great straight away. We have gaps, of course, in our data and in our process that we need to close, and AI has to learn. So it's an evolution. And it's just taking our teams by the hand. And it's some, of course, will run with it, and others is really getting to those people and just taking them by the hand and helping them overcome their fear.
And I think it's interesting. One of the things is throughout the event, you've seen a lot of it. I saw this in a session the other day. It's to embrace AI. And I think one of the huge benefits about being in an event like this is everyone in this room has an opportunity to learn from each other. What are people doing? Last year, as we said, it was all about generative AI. Now people are talking about building agents. Many people might have no idea what that even means, right? And believe it or not, it's not as complex as you would think. And there's so much opportunity there. So for Gina, beyond automating routine tasks, can you share some examples about how your organization is using AI to empower your employees?
Yeah, so I think the main one is things like the floor plan. Obviously, like with exhibitions, it's usually set well in advance that what the floor plan looks like and what those main features are. But actually, for 2026, my ops team hated me because I asked for a big change. Because obviously in 2025 we did a sporting venues pavilion and it was obviously attended and sold out. But when we looked at the registration interest data from our attendees, it was probably about the bottom 10th in terms of interest. Whereas other venue types such as museums and galleries and restaurants were slightly higher. So what I did is I said, well, how about we change the name of the pavilion name to Iconic Spaces, because that not only includes the ones that we currently have, but also widens that prospecting list for them to really build on that for 2026. And they were like, fine. But yeah, so we've changed that pavilion name, and that's one small change that we've used. I wouldn't have been able to spot that analysis if I hadn't have used AI when it came to my post-event report for such a big event on my own. And I think it's just about sometimes using AI to really analyze some of the bits that we might have missed and just being like, do you know what, let's just try it. Can you maybe think of a way to include these 3 venue types that really brings together in the brand voice of Confex? So it's being able to be open and curious, I think, when you're asking those questions about with what you've got and applying it using your own knowledge in a way that is as applicable to the job role that you've got. Obviously, for our ops team, a massive thing that helped them out in 2025 is that we had a WhatsApp AI concierge for our exhibitors and for our attendees. So a lot of our questions that we would get inundated with over the 2 days, about little questions here and there, we pre-filled it with. So we had originally a chat bot on our website. We took all those questions from that and then put that into our WhatsApp AI concierge, and then that produced a lot of the answers. So it was all questions that we'd answered anyways over the 6 to 8 month period. But this was a way for our exhibitors to not bother our ops team when they're in such a busy period before the event.
And you might not be able to estimate something like this, but I'm just curious because I have been on the service side of a trade show before, and there are hundreds and hundreds of questions, and sometimes those questions are very similar. How much time do you think you've saved by collating those responses, allowing the chatbot, the AI assistant, to ultimately answer a majority of that?
Over the 6 month period, the chatbot answered about 19,000 questions. So probably a lot.
Yeah.
And For me, I pretty much do above and beyond my role because I love my job. And so I'd probably say AI saves me about a good 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I do love what we do, but there is a lot to get done.
And then on the flip side, from the content perspective, is it too early to see the results that you've seen from being able to take that information and make that event more tailored to your attendees? Have you seen increases in kind of the program scores, the content scores, and things of that nature?
So I'm in the middle of sourcing all my speakers at the minute, so not quite yet, but it has definitely helped me to be able to be like, here's our speaker list from the past, and I have worked with Gabby before, and also my Clear Text, who are our accessibility partner from a captioning side, so that we make sure that obviously the final choices aren't final. We put them through our human experts to make sure that what we're doing does include everybody. Basically, I don't want any excuse for people to not turn up. So that includes making everything accessible as per any event.
And then Mandy, I'm going to ask you a question. What would you say one of the things you're most excited about when it comes to AI, and where do you see the future of AI between as a venue, as a chain, and working with those planners and making that communication between the planner side and the venue side even better?
I think there's so many rooms for opportunity in order to just optimize as well the communication with one another, make it more seamless, faster. One of the initiatives that we're currently working on and launching soon is making that whole rooming list interaction just go way more automatic and smoother. With the help of AI, I know it's as well for the hoteliers as well as for the event planners quite a hassle. And in all sorts of different segments, right? It's not just the event side, but also if we talk about leisure groups or crew, there are so many opportunities in order to just make that better.
And then on the hotel side, do you find it can be a challenge because you have this workforce, and if they're performing these tasks over and over again, and it's a very, very manual process, there is turnover, right? People don't necessarily want to be doing that 8 hours a day. So hopefully with some of the efficiency gains through AI, they can focus on those more strategic things. But I'm sure that this younger generation is very keen to adopt that technology, and then hopefully that elevates your staff at the end of the day.
For sure. We all know that in the hotel industry or meeting and events industry in general, it's not easy with staff. We have a lot of young people coming in, which is good because they adopt those tools quite quickly. But yeah, the turnover is always quite quick, which also means we need to make our tools and our processes easy, because then we can't spend a lot of time training people either. It needs to be easy, plug and play.
That's partly on us for you. Awesome. And Gabby, finally, implementing AI successfully, it's as much of a cultural challenge as it is a technical one. What practical steps can organizations take to build that trust and transparency?
I think it goes to something actually Gina said at the end there around human oversight and keeping humans involved in the conversation and the feedback loop. So rather than it feeling like a top-down mandate where it's we're deploying this and you're going to have to learn how to use it, it's as soon as we know that we're going to bring something like an AI tool into our business, that we're immediately consulting with our teams on how we're going to train this, how it's going to impact individual experiences and diverse experiences and outcomes, why we're actually using this tool. You've explained really clearly here, Mandy, how it's really super helpful with those admin tasks and operational tasks and things like that. But also, are there other meaningful outcomes that are going to benefit the people within the organisation too, as workers, as people contributing to the business? And are we communicating that as well, not just kind of like the cost savings because of the efficiency gains and the productivity gains and things like that? And I think that's about having conversations with our teams and our people and really bring them along for the ride and help them with the development. And of course, we know that diverse perspectives and diverse ideas mean that we have better tools, experiences, and better outcomes anyway. We know that, and we just want to apply that to the whole kind of like AI game, as I call it. Do I have anything I want to add there? No, I think really, yeah, it's just, I think remembering to share not just how we're using something, but why we're using it. Why? And really understanding the why. I know when I started using an AI tool, I was just like playing around. I was like, I just want to make my life a bit quicker, a bit easier. But then I started thinking, well, how's this going to be impacting other people? How's this going to be impacting the world by me just sharing these thoughts and ideas? And I think it's just having a little bit more consideration, I think, as well for people and planet.
And I think one of the interesting things we've heard throughout the week, some people think that AI is leveling that playing field. Do you have any perspective there?
My face probably says it all. If the global majority don't have access to computer, desktop, laptop, they're not contributing to these tools and training these tools, are they? So it's us who are lucky to live in the first world and that lucky enough to experience and use this and utilize it, but how's that actually impacting other countries, other communities, other people? And I don't think that's discussed enough at all. So already it's not a level playing field. And I don't know the answer to that, in all honesty, because I think it's a bit like an arms race at the moment, isn't it? Everyone's trying to get to this particular point. I still didn't look up what that point was.
Yep.
That place. Reggie might have mentioned it in his keynote. And so they're not even thinking about how it's going to affect us in 5-10 years' time. They just want to get to this end goal and be the first to get there. So who knows what's going to happen in the future. And that does keep me up a little bit at night, I have to say.
And I think another interesting thing is many companies these days, right, AI literacy is super, super important. At Cvent, all of our employees are forced, or not forced, but we take a training.
Hear what I just said.
We take 3 different courses, right? And then the first 2 are educational. The third one was about learning how to build agents, and it's from the top down. I mean, it was super, super informative. And so just question, at what point does AI literacy transition from that competitive advantage to this is fundamental, this is a non-negotiable skill? And I'll go ahead and start with you, Gina.
Yeah, when I was looking into some of the stats, I saw one from PCMA that said 68% of their members were already using AI, and 40% of major organizations are investing in it. So I feel like it's not going to be you're going to get sacked if you don't ever use this. It's probably more like you might not get the job if you don't know how to use it well. And I think it's a combination of probably 60% of the organization versus 40% of the individual, where, being aware of prompt engineering, however, these new terms will come up, and being aware of probably the lingo and being open. I think as event professionals, we're naturally quite curious and quite inquisitive about either the sector we're in or the job role that we have. And I think that kind of plays into, in ways, that the majority of event professionals are intrigued by who wouldn't want to get more. I would love not to work on my lunch because I've got more time back. Things like that, I think, is where it really could be the next kind of level for us to be able to really be AI literate, and how it can really impact our work.
Anyone else? Ultimately, who do you think bears that responsibility for closing that gap? Is it the individuals to self-educate? Is it the management to help push it down? Where do you think that line is?
I think it's 40%, I'd say. 60% of the business being because it's obviously not everybody can afford it, and not everybody, I wouldn't be able to afford ChatGPT if my employer hadn't gotten that business plan. It's figuring out what works for your business or that corporate, and how much they can support their employees with it. I think it does differ for each kind of sector and for each business, but yeah, that's the rough. Associations is a great way for you to maybe get involved in that conversation. The AEO, who are the Association for Exhibition Organizers, they put on a marketing AI social, and we sat down and chatted about the different kind of stages that we're all at. And I think that's probably another great avenue for understanding where the rest of your sector might be.
And I opened up the app, and there are some awesome questions in here. So I'm going to try and go through a couple of these. We have a few minutes left, and then after the Q&A, we'll wrap up with the key takeaways for the group. So, question for the panel. What would you say to people worried that extensive use of AI is going to lead to people losing skills?
I'm laughing because I'm already noticing that. How do I write a nice, polite email now? You did this for years. You can still do it. So I think that is going to be a bit of a challenge. And I don't know if that means we're going to have to use other outdoor, out-of-work pursuits and things and experiences to keep ourselves able to keep our minds active and problem solve and do all of that stuff. We might have to take our own responsibility to do that, to keep a bit like doing Sudoku and doing those sort of exercises to keep our brains working, because I do think it is going to be a little bit of an issue. But the flip side is, are we going to get a lot better with emotional intelligence, understanding how to read people, read a room and connect with people, build relationships, all those more human skills. Maybe we're going to lean a lot more into that, which wasn't necessarily as much of a thing up until maybe the past decade. So that could be actually a really brilliant added benefit of suddenly having all of this internal optimization where we can get stuff done. We can focus more on being a human being. Maybe.
Got another one for Gina. So besides ChatGPT, what AI tools do you use for delivering impactful events?
Oh my God, where do I start? Obviously, a lot of the wonderful suppliers that we work with integrate AI. Message Matrix is the company that we use for the AI WhatsApp concierge. Zeta is the company that we used for the messaging on the website. I think there's so many. I could probably send you a list.
Yeah.
Connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll send you a list.
And then I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up, and this is for Mandy. So from the hotel's perspective, what would you say is one of the most important, the first thing an organization should try and optimize when implementing AI?
Data, for sure. Because without having the data and the governance behind it, you put an AI on it, but it can't do anything. It could deliver you the right answers, it can't help you prompt anything. Especially for agentic AI and the use of agentic AI, you need to have a proper base. And without the foundation, your house will not last.
Awesome. All right, so we got about 45 seconds, but we're going to carry over just a little bit. So if everyone can take 30 seconds to just wrap us up with any sort of takeaways for the group.
Yeah, I feel be curious and don't be afraid to ask your employer. And we're such a friendly group of in the industry of event professionals that I think that we're lucky to be able to be like, oh, actually, have you tried this? Or, oh my God, I'm trying this for my event and it's actually really working really well. Like the amount of sharing and the ability to collaborate is unparalleled and compared to a lot of other industries. And I think that that's probably the biggest takeaway of all.
Mandy?
Be courageous, just do it. Come up, be curious, come up with new ideas, bring them forward. There's so many things still to explore and exchange ideas and cross partners.
Let's stay human first. So as much as we're utilizing all of this wonderful technology, let's remember to include each other in the conversations, the experiences, and get that kind of a diverse range of thoughts and opinions to support whatever we're developing.
Awesome. And I think, again, leverage the community. I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Like in an in-person event, it's great to be here, pick each other's minds, right? And really work together and figure out how, learn from each other. So with that, I want to thank this awesome panel. We really appreciate everyone that was able to join us today. And feel free afterwards, stop us in the hallway. We'd love to chat with you guys. But again, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Thank you.